I have known here, Rajiv, Niru, Manoj and several others, but above all the board members, all the ambassadors, all the board members of the National Civil Rights Museum, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor for me to speak to this august audience in this historic Civil Rights National Museum. At the outset, I would like to congratulate all those who are present here who have made this possible to have this historic museum, which I had for the first time able to see and realize the tremendous sacrifice made by millions of people. Only some leaders come on top, but there are other millions who sacrifice even more at times. And that is the greatness of your museum, where you have also tried to put in the people involvement, show the depiction of the various struggle which has gone through to make all citizens equal in this great country of the United States. I would also like to thank the local Memphis Indian community which provided the exhibit of Mahatma Gandhi celebrating the historic Gandhi-King relationship. And I applaud the Indian Community Fund for Greater Memphis who have contributed to this renovation of this National Civil Rights Museum and made upwards of 500,000 investment in support of various projects in the Memphis greater area and over the last decade or so. Friends, I would like to say and elaborate on the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of Indian nation. And as you are aware, Mahatma Gandhi's human philosophy and inherent spirituality had a profound influence not only on the people of India, but also on the freedom-loving people worldwide. It was Dr. King here, it was Nelson Mandela in South Africa, Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi spent over 20 years in South Africa. He was a pioneer of his sorts, that he was able to establish the first political organization of Africa, the Italo-Indian Congress in 1895. He founded one of the first newspapers of Africa called Indian Opinion in 1896. And in 1893, a young Indian barrister, Gandhi was evicted from a train from a station called Pietermaritzburg in South Africa for being a non-white. That day, a colonial man fell and a Mahatma arose. When I entered this great museum, this first saying was the determination of one person to rise. And that determination came upon Mahatma Gandhi that very day, that he stood to fight against injustice and racial discrimination. By a strange coincidence, on September 11, 1906, Mahatma Gandhi launched his first civil disobedience movement in Johannesburg. And of course, after his return from South Africa in 1950 to India, he carried the torch of his civil disobedience movement, and his truth was what he called Satyagraha, to lead the non-violent freedom struggle in India. And his major contribution was to bring the masses into the freedom movement of India, which brought the mighty British Empire to its knees. It also had a dynamo effect and had profound influence on other anti-colonial movements in the developing world, especially in Asia and Africa. I was privileged enough to be posted as Consul General of India in South Africa, Durban. And in Durban, Mahatma Gandhi had founded or established a settlement called Phoenix Settlement, which was razed to the ground during the apartheid violence in the 1980s. It has been now rebuilt with the help of the South African government and Indian government. But the point here is Mahatma Gandhi named this settlement Phoenix, and like the proverbial bird, it came back again to the life. And I was personally also responsible for helping in that process. Of course, the life and work of Gandhiji is an inspiration for all of us about tolerance and respect for others, their values, their ways of life. Gandhiji believed that intolerance was a form of violence. He had said, and I quote, Non-violence, the greatest force at the disposal of mankind, is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction devised by the ingenuity of man, unquote. In fact, through our delegation in United Nations, the Indian delegation there, we passed a resolution which was adopted unanimously that 2nd of October every year will be remembered as the International Day of Non-Violence. So that is being observed internationally every year. Gandhiji led by example, and it is due to his strong and personal commitment to secularism, truth, non-violence, and social reform that modern India has stayed true to these values despite pressures and challenges. Whatever he thought, he first subjected to rigorous experimentation on himself. I would also like to mention here that Mahatma Gandhi had a multifaceted personality, including a sense of humor. Once reacting to criticism that he was wearing merely his usual loincloth, sandals and shawl when invited to tea by King George and Queen Mary, he said, and I quote, "The king had enough on for both of us." Ladies and gentlemen, Mahatma Gandhi bequeathed to us three guiding principles: the trinity of ahimsa or non-violence, satyagraha or the force born of truth, and sarvodaya, that is upliftment of all. It is the value of these principles that we have to rediscover if we want to deal effectively with today's challenges. Friends, having won our independence in a non-violent struggle, Indians joined Americans in celebrating the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s leadership of the civil rights movement in America. Last year on 28 August, we commemorated the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, where Dr. King delivered his famous speech, "I Have a Dream," and April 4 we mourned the anniversary of his assassination in this very hallowed ground. March 10 marked another milestone moment in King's public ministry and personal journey. On that day, 55 years ago, he returned from a month-long journey to India, where he rededicated himself to the non-violent struggle for justice, to which the leader of our nation's independence movement, Mahatma Gandhi, gave his life. King carried forward Gandhi's commitments, and Indians enthusiastically embraced King's campaigns because both shared common values, common strategies, and common struggles. While each leader's life was cut short by violence, both these prophets of peace still have much to teach a world plagued by war, terrorism, discrimination, and divisiveness. Friends, through most of the past century, Indians and African Americans supported each other's struggles because we identified with each other's predicaments and principles. While born and raised in India, as earlier mentioned, Gandhi first struggled for social justice in South Africa, where he protested peacefully against the discrimination against Asians as well as the Africans. Returning to India in 1914, Gandhiji developed the doctrine of satyagraha or non-violent resistance to evil. From salt march, which Sharan mentioned in 1930, to hunger strikes and prison terms, or non-violent struggle won our independence in 1947. It is interesting to note also that Gandhiji also reached out to African Americans, spreading the seeds of non-violent protest that Dr. King would ultimately harvest. In 1929, he authored a short article in NAACP magazine, The Crisis, and in 1935, he met with a group of African American leaders visiting India, including Benjamin Mays, who later became the president of the Morehouse College in Atlanta. Friends, it is about this time also that an Indian lady, then in her 30s, named Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay, spent a few months touring America. Kamala Devi was one of the greatest Indian women of the 20th century, a freedom fighter par excellence, close to Gandhiji and Nehru, and a passionate advocate of the revival of India's cottage and village industries, which had been disseminated under British rule. While in America, she encountered the injustice of segregation and racial discrimination while on a train in Louisiana. She was asked to vacate her seat on the train by the conductor. She refused to do so, saying, and I quote, "I'm a colored woman, and it is unnecessary for you to disturb me, for I have no intention of moving from here," unquote. The ticket collector, after going back and forth for some time, muttered, "Oh, you are an Asian," but did not bother her again. Kamala Devi stood her ground like Rosa Parks some 14 years later.